Good morning. It's Wednesday, July 3rd. And the other day we had a Supreme Court ruling that had probably turned most of this country upside down. The Supreme Court's ruling in the Trump immunity case makes the president a king above the law. That was the headline of the Chicago Sun-Times. Claimed that the ruling delays the election interference case against Donald Trump. But the biggest casualty in the court's latest ruling is through our democracy. That's a statement that was blasted out across the Midwest. And I have to agree with that statement. We do not want a king in the White House. We want a responsible person. Now, they can have limits, but unlimited activity in any case is not to be part of what runs this country. So is this a nation where when the president does it, that means it's not illegal? That's what Richard Nixon thought. That's what he told the British journalist David Frost back when he ended up having to leave the White House. So Monday, the Supreme Court's conservative supermajority didn't go quite as far as Nixon did when he spoke to Frost in 1977, but the court came alarmingly close in this ruling that deals a major blow to the American notion that a crime is a crime no matter who commits it. So in this case, Trump versus the United States, the 6 conservative justices that were appointed, 3 of them appointed by President Trump, are they voting according to the law, or are they voting out of loyalty to the man that gave them a prestigious job? So those 6 judges ruled that ex-presidents have broad immunity from criminal prosecution. And Justice John Roberts wrote for the majority, the nature of presidential power entitles former presidents absolute immunities for action within his conclusive and preclusive constitutional authority. That's a lot of gibberish. That says you can do anything you want as the president. And that's not true. There has to be limitations. There are limitations on everybody. And you're the president of the United States. You are an example to the world. Forget about the governing of the U.S. You are an example to the world. And we cannot afford to have presidents who believe that they can do anything. In fact, Joe Biden, who is the president now, and who will benefit from this ruling if he remains in office, has condemned it. So while these people, Roberts has continued on to say the president is entitled to at least presumptive immunity from prosecution for all of his official acts. Only unofficial acts are not immune from prosecution. Well, who determines what's an official act and what's not an official act? There's a great amount of leeway in that state. It's almost like I can do anything I want because everything I do will be deemed official. Is that what we want? Is that what we really, really want? That's a king-like position. So this business of official or unofficial is confusing to everybody, but it has caused the criminal case that Jack Smith is pursuing to go back to the lower courts, because now the lower courts are stuck with the decision to determine whether or not the conduct at the center of charges against Trump was official or unofficial. So Jack Smith is going to have to hustle his ass off to get this case into court and get it moved through trial. This case was originally going to trial in March, but now, 3 months later, now this case has been delayed so long that it won't finish in time for the election. It won't finish to determine Trump's guilt or innocence before people have to cast their ballots. So if you step back and look at this entire mess is a strategy by Trump. The strategy is to delay and delay and delay. And that strategy should not be allowed to succeed. At least there should be a fight. Americans deserve to know whether the candidate who wants to return to the presidency is guilty of trying to overturn the election that threw him out in the first place. And we all know that he claimed he had won that victory. He claimed that way back when the riots occurred, before the election results of 2020 were announced. So there's no question in my mind that the Supreme Court's decision favors Donald Trump by a large degree. And even though Roberts insists that the president is not above the law, this ruling that they just created proves to the American public that the court's worsening reputation for partisanship and bias is correct, that the court has tunnel vision when it comes to Donald Trump. The days when a large percentage of Americans had trust, a great deal of trust, or at least a fair amount of trust in the Supreme Court, those days are gone. No one trusts this Supreme Court anymore. So if you have a lack of trust in the Supreme Court, your nation is destined to fail. There cannot be a true democracy without an independent judiciary. So this judiciary that exists right now is a bad sign for our democracy. We are leaning toward dictatorship, and dictatorship nations have judges and courts, but they have no independence. They are tied to the dictator's shoestring, so to speak. And that's what this court looks like. These 3 appointments that Trump was able to make, one of them, egregious deed by Mitch McConnell. And I don't want to go into that. So this court is a disaster. And our nation is going to suffer greatly because of their decisions. So I leave you at that this morning. A man in disgust. Have a great day. Bye.